What does that even mean, Bowers Game Corner?
Oh, there, YouTube! I'm back again today for another game review and a special Kickstarter review. And today we're excited to check out Butterfly Garden from Dr. Finn's Games for 2 to 6 players, ages 8+. Will take about 15 to 30 minutes to play. And in Butterfly Garden, you are going to be collecting butterflies in your net, putting them into your jar, and then taking them to the zoo so you can earn victory points, which I'm assuming can only be cash. This is from Dr. Finn's Games, who is known for their light, accessible, family-weight filler-ish games. Does this continue the trend? Let's open it up and I'll tell you. Alright, then we're going to take a look at what you're going to get inside of the Butterfly Garden. So first and foremost, I do want to mention this is the promotional copy I have in front of me, so take everything you see here with a grain of salt. Once it gets to you, much nicer components, artwork, full color, all that good stuff. So first and foremost, we have a handy-dandy rule booklet. It is about, I don't know, let's say 13 pages, double-sided. Yours is going to be full color, full of pictures, illustrations, examples, all that good stuff you like to see in a rule booklet. It's a very, very well done rule booklet. It will hold your hand the whole way. Huge thumbs up on the rule booklet. So, before we get started on the Butterfly Garden, I do want to mention one thing I forgot to mention in the pros and cons section at the end, which is that I really enjoy the 2-player, and I have a 3-player game set up, but in a 2-player version of the game, the bidding takes a little bit more importance because you and your opponent will both have one of these score point cards on your side, and if you go first, you can actually take their score point card, which means they won't be able to score. 2-player definitely does feel a little bit different than 3 to 6, but in a good way, and it still feels like a very similar game. So I did want to mention that. So in the Butterfly Garden, what you're going to be doing is you are going to collecting these butterflies right here by essentially kind of reverse bidding. You're going to be trying to play some of the different butterfly numbers down, and everyone's going to play down one of the cards in their hand at the same time. And everyone is going to reveal these cards. The lowest number is going to get to select one of these cards, put it into your hand, take the card that you bid with, so the card that you place down and then you show it off to everybody. You're actually going to slide it right here and put it into your butterfly jar, and then potentially, if you can, you use a special ability, or you can fulfill some of these objectives, which will gain you points. But I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself. Let's go over the components, and then we'll get a little bit more into the gameplay. So first and foremost, you're going to have 3 main kinds of cards. The first kind of cards, which some people won't use, I don't use, my wife enjoys them, are going to be these score point cards right here, because I believe you go up to 50 in a 2-player game, and these are just really to help people keep track of scores instead of having to pile up all these numbers and say, what's 8 plus 8 plus 4 plus 3 plus 2 plus, oh, I'm so frustrated. So those are a nice addition, a nice little touch. Next, you're going to have your Butterfly Jar cheat sheet card right here. This is very, very useful. It will really tell you everything you need to know in the game. It tells you what you do, the turn order that you're going to do it, the special actions, because there are 4 special actions on a couple different cards, and it also works well from a graphic design standpoint, as you can easily look at how many points you have, and also which butterflies you have in your jar. So that is very nice. So next you're going to have 2 separate decks of cards. First one are going to be these butterfly decks here. This is going to be the big deck right here. And there's going to be a couple different kinds of cards in here that will all have a number in the upper left-hand corner. As I mentioned, the upper left-hand corner, or those number, are going to let you know when you are going to be bidding. So if you have the 0 and you bid a 0, you are always going to get to pick first, and not only pick first, but also potentially fill an order before anyone else. But as you go higher, you'll see generally you get better cards. So this is a wild card, which is a really useful one. And also, it's going to give you a special ability. We'll go over the special abilities in a second. But there will be double wilds, and that is probably a high number. That's a 54. Some of them will have 2 butterflies. Some will have 3. And some will only have 1. And those generally have the lower numbers right there. It all seems very well balanced, I will say. So you're going to set out these cards right here so people will know what they're essentially bidding for. Then you're also going to flip over the top card right here to let people know what might potentially be coming up next round, what will be coming up next round, kind of wet their whistle. So if it's a really good card, they'd be like, all right, I kind of want that card more than any of these cards, so I'm going to save my good low cards until then. Next, we have the victory point cards over here, which will come in increments of, I think, like maybe 5 or 6 all the way up to 10. And these are very simple to understand once you know what's going on. So, for instance, this one right here means you need to have 4 of a kind. As you can see, it's an equal sign. So any 4 of a kind of any color you want will gain you 10 points. This one, very simple, 2 yellows, a red, and then this bluish, purplish guy right here. Some of them will ask for wilds. This one, you need a yellow, a green, and then 3 of any color you want. That'll let you set points, 7 points. This one, you need 3 of any color you want, and then one of those elusive wilds. That'll get you 9 victory points. And those wilds just never seem to come up when you need them. So, those are the components you're going to get in the game, so I'll show you how the gameplay is going to work. Also, I do want to mention that there are only going to be 1 less than there are people set out. So, as you can see, if we're playing a 3-player game right now, we would only have 2 potential victory point cards for people to pick up, which means if you go 3rd in the bidding, you might potentially not get to complete an order, because this one right here, once again, is just to wet your whistle so you'll know what to prepare for. You can't actually purchase that one right now. So, what you're going to do on your turn is everyone is going to start the game with 3 cards. Now, I do want to mention that I'm starting off with the random version. There is what they like to call the less luck setup, which has you going through the 1 to 16 and dealing out specific cards to specific people, then going through there, so there's a little bit less luck in the setup, so someone's not getting 3 wilds. We tried it, and it just seemed like it was a little bit more setup than I wanted. I actually didn't mind the randomness in the game, but to each his own. So everyone's going to start off, they're going to have 3 of these cards. They're going to have their handy-dandy jar in front of them, and they are going to decide, you know what, do I really want these cards? So to start off the game, my personal philosophy is I like to have a lot of butterflies because that gives you a lot of options. So you know what, I'm actually kind of happy with any of these. So I might look down here and say, which one of these do I want to put in my jar? Oh, this is a good time to go over the various different special abilities on some of the cards. So first, this one right here, if you see this special ability right there, you're going to draw a card, add it to your hand, and return a card to the bottom of the deck. So essentially, you might get rid of a card, like say this card is in your hand. You're like, this is a pretty mediocre card, I don't really want it. You might get rid of that card and put it out of your deck and hopefully draw a better card. This one right here, put a card from your hand into your jar, then put a card from your jar into your hand. This one could be particularly good, especially if it has a special ability on it. So you can potentially unlock a special ability, or potentially get a card straight out of your hand into your jar, which can help you complete one of the objectives over here. Next one, immediately deliver garden and score victory points. Those ones will look like this. This one actually doesn't give you any butterflies. As you can see, you try and slide over here and say, oh, that doesn't do anything. That's because if you play this, you just immediately get 3 victory points, which is kind of great. Those are some of my favorite cards in the game. They can really make things interesting, especially once you get towards the tail end of the game. Last one we got around here, you're going to draw a card and add it to your jar. So this is the ultimate wild card. You're just, boom, drawing a card and you're adding it to your jar. I like that card an awful lot. So, now that we've established that, let's go back over this and say, all right, which one of these do I want to do? So I'm happy with any of 3 of these cards really right now, so I would decide that I'm going to play this card right here because I just want to get these victory points. I want to start off hot. So I play that right down here. We'll say this guy plays that card, and this guy plays that card. We reveal all 3 of the cards, and we're paying special attention to the numbers. And wow, this guy has a 43, this guy has a 57, and magically, I actually still would get to go first since I have the lowest number at 39. I was not expecting that. You weren't expecting that. It's craziness. So what's going to happen is that this card that I played immediately goes into my jar. So in this case, it's actually going to go to the left side. And now I have 3 victory points. And I get to my pick of the litter. And I'm going to go ahead and I'll take this 40... So I'll take the 42. It's a little bit lower, and it still has 3 butterflies. So this card goes into my hand, thus replenishing me back to 3 cards, because you're always going to have 3 cards in your hand. I can't complete any of the objectives over here, because going down the on your turn section right here, so I would pass on that. Also, you do have the option, if you want to just sell 1 butterfly for 1 victory point. So essentially, later in the game, you could sell this card, as long as it's in your jar, for 3 victory points. It's not the greatest idea, but if you need to do it, you need to do it. Because sometimes there is a limit to how many butterflies you can have in your jar. You can only have 8 butterflies in your jar, and when you get more, you have to immediately get rid of some of them. So next we'd go to the 43 guy right here. He'd be like, oh yeah, I gotta slide this in, I gotta pick second, so we would slide that in right there to symbolize that he has 3 butterflies. And he'd say, you know what, I want 3 more butterflies. So he's gonna pick that up, and he's going to place it into his hand. And likewise, this guy right here, he has a special ability that would trigger like now. So let's see what that special ability is. Draw a card and add it to your jar. So that's a really good one, because not only does he get to do that, bloop, he now gets this one. So obviously this would not probably be the best time to do that, because he knows he's going to get that. But still, he has gotten a wild, and he's got a yellow, and now he gets to put this one into his hand. And that would be the end of the round, because no one could purchase a victory point card. So we would, once again, go like this, get out 3 new ones, replace this guy right here. We'd say, ooh, there's a 4 victory point one. There's a pretty nice one. None of these would get purchased, but when they do get purchased, they don't get immediately replenished until the end of the round, because what could potentially happen is I might buy this, and he might buy that, and then the third person is kind of going to get Shaftola here. But anywho, you're going to continue to go until you hit X amount of victory points, depending on how many players you have. Once you hit that, you will finish the round, and whoever has the most points will be the winner of the game. If you don't do that, the other way the game ends is when you run completely out of these cards right here, at which point you finish out that round. Well, I guess it would be finished once somebody buys the last card. You finish out the round, and then you see who has the most victory points. Whoever has the most victory points is the winner of the Butterfly Garden. And that, in a nutshell, is how the game is played. Alrighty then, the Butterfly Garden from Dr. Finn's Games. What are my final thoughts? Go over the pros, go over the cons. First, on the con side, the game is not going to be for everybody. It's a very light game. This is very simple. You can probably teach it in less than 5 minutes. You'll need the rule booklet maybe once or twice. And if you're looking for something meatier, this is not going to be for you. Also, there's not too much decision making in this. When do I bid low? When do I bid high? When do I play my wild? When do I want to spend things? There's some minor choices here, but mostly this is a very straightforward game. There's not too many paths to victory you can take in this game, which is going to turn some people off. Also, it's not a very memorable game. You're not going to be talking about games of the Butterfly Garden a year and a half from now and say, oh, you remember that one time you got that wild and it was so crazy you won by 2 points? No, that's not going to happen. It's just not. It's not that kind of game. Any other cons? I mean, the theme is going to be drab to some people, me personally, but I mean, it's not offensive, and I imagine that family games, as a family gamers, this is going to be a theme that can appeal to a lot of different people, so it's not going to turn anyone off either, I would imagine. Moving on to the pros, Butterfly Garden is a very, very solid game that I enjoyed an awful lot. And I honestly think this is the kind of game that everybody should have in their collection, because it's just this simple. I played this with a lot of people, and no one disliked it. Everyone was like, yeah, that was a really good game. I surprisingly enjoyed that quite a bit. And, some of these are burly-chested, bearded men who are like, oh, what is this garbage playing this butterfly game? And I was like, trust me, it's really good. I really enjoyed it. And by the end, they're like, oh, wow, that was really good. And it's quick, 15 to 30 minutes. 15, it's a bit of a stretch. But I would say about 20 to 40 minutes you're going to be playing each and every game of this. Even that's another thing. It played well at all player counts. I liked it with 2. I liked it with 6. I liked it 3, 5. I did not get to play it with 4. I will say that, but I don't think 4 would really make that big of a difference between 3 and 5. And it played very, very well. They scale up how much points you have to get. Artwork's nice. The graphic design is really good in this. How everything works, and they're actually actively working on improving that. I imagine the artwork in this is going to be gorgeous if it's anything like some of other Dr. Finn's lighter games. Small, compact, I imagine this is going to be, because it really is just, probably about 100 cards or something like that. The scorecards, honestly, I thought these were really dumb. I was like, who needs these? And then I played with my wife, and she's like, oh, these are such a great idea. And I was like, that's why I like playing with my wife. She provides the counterpoint that I don't always see. It's just, Dr. Finn is really good at this. He's really good at designing these quick, lightish games that are great for families. They're great for filler games. They play well at different player counts, and he has done it once again with the Butterfly Garden. I mean, there's not really too many holes I can poke in this game. I enjoyed it, and I think if you're hoping to have a well-rounded gaming collection, this is the kind of game that you definitely might want to have in your collection. So that is the Butterfly Garden from Dr. Finn's Game, one that I could definitely recommend to just about everybody. If you play filler games from time to time, this is a no-brainer. If you play family games from time to time, this is a no-brainer. So that's the Butterfly Garden from Dr. Finn's Games. If it looks like it might be your cup of tea, be sure to check out the Kickstarter link down below. Tell them Bowers Game Corner sent you. Also in the comments below, let me know, have you ever caught a butterfly with a net? I have not caught a butterfly with the net, but I have caught a butterfly once. Actually, probably a couple times. I always done the thing where it's on the flower, and then you get the scoop, and then you go, you close it, and then you're like, oh my gosh, did I catch it? Did I catch it? And you kind of shake it, and you're like, oh, did I catch it? And then it kind of dies, and you're like, oh man, I did catch it. And you're like, you just can never be sure. And sometimes I've accidentally caught the moths, and then they get all that white garbage stuff on your hands. Man, I hate stupid moths. Let me know in the comments below, catching butterflies. Have you ever done it? As always, thanks for your time, YouTube.